Thank you. May I thank the friends of the media for attending today's press conference. I would like to summarize the work of the Finance Committee in the 2014-15. In this LegCo session, we had 85 meetings, and we covered 180 hours. The number of meetings and hours covered were at the top over the years. We had 74 meetings to study the administration's funding proposals and spent about 145 hours. We studied 100 financial items and approved 98 of them. The items include 63 public works projects with a total commitment of $107,263,800,000, 3 times that of the previous year commitment. 10 establishment proposals covering 13 permanent directorate grade officers, 2 supernumerary directorate grade officers, 1 permanent non-civil service posts, and retaining 9 supernumerary directorate grade officers posts, 25 non-public works financial commitment, totaling $41,354,638,000. Apart from 2 items which are the financial proposals of the Innovation Technological Bureau proposals, we've completed all the government financial proposals. The above 2 items were rolled over from the last year. We dealt with many public works projects and many projects that related to people's livelihood, and they were the 3 landfill extension projects in the new territories and the development of an integrated waste management facilities, phase 1, costing $28,853,000,000, the Liantang Hengyuan Wai Boundary Point and associated works, involving $17,531,800,000, the planning, engineering, architectural study on the top side of the Hong Kong Macau-Zhuhai Bridge, costing $64,043,000. Approving $6.6 billion, and also giving and also for the special 1-month rent project and also triple pay. The approval of the $4 billion for the establishment of a non-profit private teaching hospital by the Chinese University of Hong Kong. The administration has incorporated 20 odd items into 2015-16 budget, and they reshuffled the agenda items and withdrew 4 items from the 2013-14 LegCo session, and they were incorporated in the 2015 financial budget, so that the Legislative Council, in studying the 2015 appropriation bill, could deal with those items together and gave approval for implementing those projects. Some members did not support the administration's way of handling that, and they expressed concern that this would undermine the LegCo's duties and functions of scrutinizing public expenditure. The committee called a special meeting in mid-March to discuss procedural and legal matters in respect of these. To deal with the 2015-16 budget. From the 27th of March to 2nd of April, we had 20 sessions, 20 sessions of special FC meeting, and discussed with the controllers and bureau representatives and departmental representatives to discuss the details. The members submitted 7,093 questions, written questions to the administration. Members also discussed with the administration on many livelihood-related issues, gave their comments and asked questions, and discharged the duties in respect of approving public expenditure. Although the Finance Committee has dealt with many items of financial proposals, and in studying the proposals and items, we have been very flexible and effective. Say related items were merged together for joint discussion, and then they were then separately voted. And also for the first time in April, by circulation, the Finance Committee approved the funding for the Disaster Relief Fund to bring relief to the victims of Nepal earthquakes. We dealt with also many controversial items. We had many rounds of questions and discussions and expressed positions. The committee spent quite a lot of time on these items. As the chairman, I insist on fairness and impartiality in chairing the meeting and have make sure that the meeting is orderly, effective, and fair. On the whole, members are serious and also positive and active in discussing the items, and the meeting can be regarded as smooth and orderly. I'd like to thank members for their contribution, and I look forward to their supporting the work of the Finance Committee. I'd like to thank the Secretariat for their hard work the past year and for assisting me in chairing the meeting. And I also like to thank the legal advisor. I would like to thank them.
Messages in English. During the 2014-15 legislative session, the Finance Committee has held a record of 85 meetings spanning about 180 hours. Of these, 74 meetings of about 145 hours were spent on deliberating financial proposals put forward by the administration. The committee has deliberated 100 financial proposals within the session, with the exception of 2 proposals related to the establishment of a new Innovation and Technology Bureau, which are carried forward from the previous legislative session. The Finance Committee has finished deliberation and approved all the financial proposals put forward by the administration. The 98 approved proposals include $107 billion worth of 63 public works projects, 10 establishment proposals, and 25 non-public works financial proposals, which cost some $41 billion. The major public works projects and livelihood-related items approved by the committee include 3 landfill extension projects and the development of an integrated waste management facilities costing $28.9 billion in total. Lantang and Hengyuan Hui boundary control point and associated works involving some $17.5 billion in financial commitment. Planning, engineering, and architectural study for topside development at the Hong Kong Boundary Crossing Facilities Island of Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge at a cost of around $64 million. Approval of a $4 billion
批准向中文大學提供一筆40億嘅貸款，係發展非牟利私家教學醫院。另外呢，係批准撥款67億，為公屋租戶代繳1個月嘅租金，同埋為綜援戶出3糧。雖然呢，當中係有一啲呢具爭議性嘅項目嘅，喺財委會嘅會議呢，大致上都係順利有秩序嘅。我係感激各位。
Over the last session. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my LegCo secretary for spending a lot of time helping me with chairing the Finance Committee and also the legal advisor. Thank you very much.
Well, now the media can ask questions. Please raise your hand first. Please state the name of your organization, your name, TVB. TVB, Li Wai. This year, the government has withdrawn or shuffled some of the agenda items. Do you think this would affect the relationship between the executive and the legislature? And about the Innovation and Technology Bureau, there have been rounds of discussion when you have been chairman of the Finance Committee. Are you disappointed? Now, we must understand that in March, we had the discussion on whether this is in line with the rules of procedure, whether it's legitimate to do so. However, withdrawing agenda items by the government is something that the government can do under the Financial Committee's procedures. And of course, I would hope that we could deal with this item, because we had spent over 20 hours in discussing the IT Bureau. However, I don't feel disappointed if the proposal is not passed, because anyway, the proposal has to be passed, and I have reason to believe that by October, when we have elected a new chairman for the FC, I believe that there is a great chance that this item will be passed. Well, I think you could say that there is an impact, but the relationship between the legislature and the executive being affected is not due to the government's effort in withdrawing or shuffling agenda items. It takes two to tango. So I think LegCo members should also consider whether they have done anything leading to the withdrawal of agenda items. I believe that the government did not really want to withdraw the items, and I think it would be untrue to say that it's not affected. Well, you say that according to the FC procedures, the government could withdraw agenda items, but still, after discussing the item for 28 hours, the proposal still hadn't been passed. And you indicated that you definitely will not be chairman of the FC again. And what is your expectation on the next FC chairman? Well, you've asked a number of questions, and I am quite old. I'm afraid I don't have good memory. So I'll just answer your first question first. I won't criticize others, because when it comes to political wisdom, I'm somebody lacking political wisdom. So I don't think it's wise for me to criticize whether anybody has political wisdom, given that I don't have any. Well, as to whether I would be chairman of the FC next term, I have reiterated many times that I had an agreement with Ng Leung Sing. Then that's also an agreement between the Liberal Party, and that I would be chairman for the first and third year of the term, whereas he would be chairman for the second and fourth year of the term. And I don't want any speculations. Is there another question? Sorry, the speaker's not coming through. My expectations for the next FC chairman? Of course, I would hope that the next chairman would be much more efficient and do much better than I've done. Next, Oriental Daily. Chairman, good afternoon. I'm Lee Cha-Ho from Oriental Daily. Just now you mentioned that the FC had held 85 meetings spanning about 180 hours, which is unprecedented. So what is your take on this record-breaking number of meetings and number of hours? How do you feel? How do I feel? Well, I am not a very bright person, so I needed to work harder to handle all the items. I'm Zheng Yiping from Economic Times. Now, the government always criticizes the Pan-Democrats for filibustering in the council meeting, although just now in your speech you said that you were grateful for members' participation and their hard work. So what is your view on this? Well, of course, everyone is free to criticize or have a viewpoint on somebody else. So you talked about the government criticizing other members. I think the government is in a bit better position to answer you why they would criticize those members. and I would not comment on other criticisms on others. As I always say, the public has the public's eyes are I mean, they can see very clearly. I think we'll be underestimating our public's judgment if we keep repeating certain versions. So I believe the public as well as the media will have your own judgment on whether those members engaging in filibustering has affected the progress of the FC, leading to so many hours of meeting at HK.
Maybe disappointment, are you disappointed with anything that happened over the past year? And how would you assess the working of the government with the FC and the lawmakers who sit on the FC?
Well, I can only answer your first question. I'm a bit old to remember so many questions, but if you ask me whether I have any disappointments, I can only tell you that I am happy that for the last year, I am beginning to learn humility, patience, and how to control my temper. So it's a good thing that over the year, I'm trying to learn how weak I am in those areas and that I need to do a lot more work on it. So I'm not disappointed on that.
What about the dealings by the government with the FC and lawmakers?
Excuse me, how about what?
What about the government's dealing with the FC during the past year and the conduct of the lawmakers? What do you think about that?
I am not too sure I quite get your question. But as far as I'm concerned, the government has to do what they deem necessary. And as a Finance Committee chairman, I can only be working within the procedures and the rules of the Legislative Council. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I can't hear you.
What about the filibustering and all that happened during the past year?
Well, I seldom use the word filibustering like you use. I've always said that there is very little authority within the Finance Committee chairman to stop filibustering. I can only keep advising my colleagues, even though obviously they should scrutinize all the items that all the money government spent and all that, but to a certain point, they shouldn't be repeating the questions or asking the same questions or asking the same where the answers were provided. And to a certain point, we have to cast a vote. We can't be debating all our lives and not voting. Obviously, the extreme to that would be everybody do not speak. When government give us a proposal, we just vote on it. I don't think that's what we intend to see within our Legislative Council. So as a chairman, I need to actually balance between the right for members to speak and ask questions and how much and how long can they be speaking on the same issue.
Do you have any hopes of the government, how it should deal with the FC in the coming year?
I have said earlier that I don't think things will change much until we change the rules and procedures. And that requires a changing of the composition now in the Finance Committee. But obviously, with the new chairman, more efficient and more able, he would probably be getting things done more quickly than I did the last year.
香港電台跟住 now。
RTHK. Now there is filibustering in this session. Now you said that you didn't know how to cut the meeting short. How do you deal with filibustering, and were there any complaints made from the pro-establishment quarter, and were there any complaints made to you from the administration? Now, you said you control your temper. What did you learn? And could you give us some examples, share with us some examples of what helped you to learn that? Now, you asked me a series of questions, and I will not be able to answer all your questions. To answer your first question, my mother asked me to work harder because I am stupid, and also my mother also told me that I should not be complacent and I should not measure myself by myself, so I would not make any assessment on myself. What are your next questions? Sorry, speaker's not coming through. Say from the pro-establishment quarters, from the administration, were there any complaints made to you, in particular dealing with filibustering? I didn't feel that any officials, my colleagues, the citizens, or the friends of the media gave me advice, but I didn't believe that such advice. I didn't treat those advice as a complaint. In the past year, officials, colleagues, and you all gave me some views or advice. I try my best to listen. And if there is any problem with myself, I try to make improvement. If there is not, then I've heard it. I don't know the Chinese medium. I don't know how to read that. I hope I've answered your question. What have you learned? I've already said. Probably you want me to speak it in Chinese. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I understand my serious shortcomings, and my wife have told me that for many years I've learned to be humble, to control my temper, and I have not been successful. Now TV. Next year is very likely that Ng Liang Shing will be the chairman. Will that worsen the relationship between the legislature and the executive? As for members who do filibustering under the new chairman, will they have more difficulties in doing filibustering? These are hypothetical questions. You've known me for so many years. It's hard for me to give a hypothetical answer to a hypothetical question. I can't answer your question. Next year, switch on your TV, switch on your radio. I think the best is to watch the direct broadcast of your station, and then people can see for themselves. The Economic Channel. I also want to ask a question for the vice chairman. The chairman doesn't want to comment on himself. Do you want to comment on other members, whether they have done their part, whether they have delayed the matter by filibustering? And how do you assess the performance of the Finance Committee? Do you think the Finance Committee is not efficient? Or is filibustering too excessive? Or is it because of the adding of more meeting sessions that worsen the relationship between the legislature and executive? Will you take over the chair? Now, under the present situation, if we don't change 37A, it will be difficult for anyone who chairs the meeting. Mr. Tommy Cheung has chaired more than 100 hours of meeting. He has great stamina, and he has not fallen ill. He is very strong. As who will be the chairman, there are pro-establishment members who want to take the seat, but it's still early. Is I think approaching October, the pro-establishment will call a meeting. I will not fight for the seat. It's a difficult seat. It's a hot seat. You cannot change 37A. And it is a hard job. It's a tall order. I can only say it's a thankless job. So I will not fight for that. Sing Tao. I have a question for Tommy. Now you say unavoidably the administration can, in reshuffling the agenda items, will affect the relationship with legislature. Do you want to give a piece of advice to the administration in improving the relationship between the legislature and executive so as to make the relationship smoother? You also mentioned an agreement with Mr. Leung Shing. But if your opponent is Mr. Chen Kin-po, will you compete? I have already said that I'm not going to answer any hypothetical question. If you don't understand what I have said, I can't help you. I know you understand. You are one of the few who understand what I say, and you can give fair comments. As for relationship between the legislature and the executive, it's not just the reshuffling of agenda items. It's not just a single item that has caused this. This probably is because of poor relationship, and therefore the government has to do this. If the executive and the legislature both want to improve their relationship and build mutual trust, both sides have to work more positively towards that. I have said that I'm the worst among the 70 LegCo members as far as political wisdom is concerned. I therefore cannot tell you or the government how the relationship can be improved. At the end of the day, if we want to work for the interests of Hong Kong, if we want to work for good governance of Hong Kong, the executive has its role, the legislature has its role. There should be division of labor. If we put our hearts to it, and if we are working for the interests of Hong Kong, well, it will not be helpful if the situation continues to deteriorate. If you want to work for the interests of Hong Kong, you have to find a way to improve the relationship. Any other questions? The Apple Daily. In the past year, now you said that both the administration and the LegCo should work hard to improve the relationship. But did you see any action taken by the council or the administration to improve the relationship? Next session will be the last session of the LegCo term. Now, will the administration only submit the applications at the 11th hour so that you'll have a hard time? Now, to answer your question, it's not just the FC. Over a decade or so, I have complained, if not scolded them, for delaying the submissions. Did they want me not to go over the submissions? I just want to urge the departments, all the government departments, not just financial proposals, but also the bills. They should give us more time to study. We cannot hurry. If we hurry, we may make mistakes. Sorry, for example, the copyright ordinance.
But if you don't hurry, you will have to wait for the following year, and by the following year, we will have to start afresh. So I have been urging the government to try to submit their proposals as soon as possible, instead of waiting till April or May, because summer recess starts in July and September is election. So I urge the government to submit their proposals as soon as possible. So what's your next question? Has anything been done by members to improve the relationship between the legislature and the executive? I believe both sides did make some effort in this regard. For example, you could see that the government did discuss with the pro-establishment camp, and the members urged the government to bring forward some livelihood-related items in front of the IT Bureau, and the government heeded our advice. So the government did show some sincerity. And And I wouldn't say, as some members had said, that the government was insincere, because the government did not withdraw those items and insisted on discussing the IT Bureau. And I believe some members had also shown sincerity, including some political parties in the Pan-Democratic camp, that they said that they would not filibuster. But according to some members of the public, well, they thought otherwise. They questioned why, instead of stopping the filibustering, those Pan-Democrats just continued to ask questions. So I believe that the public will have their own judgment. We can see and we can feel the sincerity in improving the relationship between the legislature and the executive. Any more questions? The last one, TVB. Sorry, Chairman, I have one more question. Well, in reviewing the remuneration of LegCo members, you made a suggestion to raise the remuneration for FC chairman to the level of the HC chairman, but your suggestion was turned down. So do you still think that the pay for FC chairman should be on a par with the HC chairman, or even higher? Well, I'm not afraid to comment on this today. But several months ago, I was accused by some members of trying to raise my own pay. But now we've approached the end of the term, and I won't be the next FC chairman in the next session, so I'm not afraid to comment on this. I'm in the business sector, and we often talk about the value of an employee, how much bonus payments should be given to the employee. And as I often say, you should ask the Secretariat of the Legislative Council how many hours the chairman of the House Committee had participated in meetings, including the time when the chairman sat presided on behalf of the council of the president in council meetings. In 2012, if you check the record, we are talking about some 80, 90 hours. But if you check the record of myself and Mr. Ng Sing, and also in the previous years when Ms. Emily Lau was the chairman, well, I'm not saying that the chair of House Committee's job is not important, but then for the Finance Committee, the chairman has to be there at every meeting, and the chairman cannot ask the president to make a ruling and for the chairman to return to his seat or her seat. So if the FC chairman is considered an important role in this council and with quite substantial workload, I do believe that the remuneration should be similar to that for the HC chairman. And I also believe that the pay for our staff in the Secretariat should be raised as well. Let's not forget, and please don't laugh at them, they really suffered a lot. This year, fortunately, we did not have many 37As, but last year some of our colleagues had to work through thousands of amendments. Because once the 37A is invoked, our staff would need to read through all the amendments, each and every word of them, before asking the chairman to make a ruling. Sometimes I trust them and I allow them to make their own judgment. But sometimes I would ask whether my colleagues would question my ruling. But anyway, I think we have our own judgment, and I think the staff responsible for the FC, including the DG here or SG here, should also consider this. Well, fortunately, in the recent filibustering campaign, there haven't been many amendments under 37A, so it saved our time. So this is the end of the press conference. Thank you.